long underpass. Perhaps these lights were the last images Diana ever saw through the window of the ambulance. Many of these Parisian tunnels are connected to catacombs and other tunnels which traverse the whole of Paris. Along the bank of the Seine, Diana's ambulance travelled, flanked by police motorcycles. According to a Guardian newspaper article published on Wednesday, November the 14th, 2007, the on-board doctor was Jean-Marc Martineau. The ambulance driver's name was Michel Massaboeuf, who claims that the doctor instructed him to drive extra slow because of the condition of the princess. The driver, Michel Massaboeuf, confirms that the ambulance had an escort of several police motorcyclists. Michel Massaboeuf claims that the average speed of the ambulance during the journey was 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. That's approximately 25 to 30 miles per hour. This is approximately the same average speed my taxi travelled from the tunnel to the hospital. Into another underpass, and we quickly make our way to the Petit Salpêtrière Hospital, which is situated near Gare Austerlitz. At 17 minutes past 4, my taxi arrives in the boulevard of the hospital. My journey, in rush hour traffic, during bad weather, with no police escort, has taken just 11 minutes. Diana's ambulance took more than 1 hour and 40 minutes to do the same journey. According to the ambulance driver, he was ordered by the doctor in the back of the ambulance to stop and park outside the gardens of a natural history museum because Diana was in a critical condition. The ambulance driver claims they parked for just 5 minutes. The hospital entrance, where professional emergency staff had all the latest equipment standing by to help Diana, was actually in view of the parked ambulance. In fact, you can walk from the hospital entrance to the place where the ambulance parked in less than 2 minutes. But no one from the hospital rushed over to the ambulance, even though the place where the ambulance was parked was directly opposite the entrance to the hospital. Why did an 11-minute journey take nearly 2 hours? Mathematically speaking, this means that the ambulance travelled an average of just 2 miles per hour for 1 hour and 40 minutes. Have you ever seen an ambulance travelling at 2 miles per hour with an injured person on board? No witness has come forward confirming that they saw the ambulance and police motorbikes crawling along the road at 2 miles per hour. At such a ridiculously slow average speed, one would expect the exact route to be burned into the memory of the driver. However, Lord Justice Scott Baker told jurors in the British inquest during the autumn of 2007 that the exact route of the ambulance was not known. Here's a question. If you drove at an average speed of just 2 miles per hour on a journey of just a few miles, would you remember the roads which you drove down? Many authors have speculated that it is during this ambulance journey that someone killed Diana. by either refusing her medical attention and literally watching her die in an ambulance parked up on the side of the road, or someone with truly evil intentions made Diana's injuries even worse, possibly cutting and slicing her organs. Out of the sight of the press and the police, out of the sight of the general public, in a long underground underpass, dimly lit, in the privacy of the back of an ambulance, the most famous person in the world was murdered. Once admitted to the hospital, Diana was soon pronounced dead. Then, almost immediately, and against all French laws, a team of embalmers immediately embalmed Diana's body. This makes any post-mortem autopsy difficult to perform. At the same time Diana's body was being illegally embalmed, the tunnel was washed. Yes, the scene of the most notorious traffic accident of all time, which killed the world's most famous person, was washed down and opened for public use within just a couple of hours of the crash. The scene of the crime was cleansed, the most important body embalmed whilst still warm, and the body of Dodi al-Fayed was burnt, all within 24 hours of the crash. History repeats itself. During this investigation, I asked myself, is there a former historical precedent of a princess being killed in a fake car crash? Surprisingly, I found yes, there is a historical precedent of a princess being killed in a fake car accident, and it also happened in France. On September the 13th, 1982, Princess Grace and Princess Stephanie of Monaco were involved in a terrible car accident. Their rover careered and veered off the winding roads of France, leading to the Principality of Monaco. They were travelling from Roc-Argel to Monaco. Princess Grace was driving. A driver who was following them said that all of a sudden the car carrying the two princesses swerved and zigzagged. Princess Stephanie was able to get out of the car when it finally stopped rolling, and she suffered a few injuries. However, her mother, Princess Grace of Monaco, wasn't so lucky. Princess Grace was found unconscious inside the car. Some people that lived near the site of the accident rescued and took Princess Grace out of the vehicle. An ambulance came and took the princess to the Central Hospital in Monaco. Princess Grace went through a series of studies and a CAT scan. Due to her condition, doctors said nothing else could be done, and her life support system was terminated. On the night of September the 14th, 1982, Princess Grace of Monaco, formerly the American actress Grace Kelly, died. Some authors alleged that this was an act of medical euthanasia or even medical homicide. "15 years after the life support systems of Princess Grace were terminated, a man calling himself Georges Leroux came forward. He alleged that Princess Grace was initiated into a secret society called the Order of the Solar Temple on June 15th, 1982, at the Priory of Villers-Morgon in the south of France. In 1997, a television documentary alleged that Princess Grace of Monaco was the High Priestess of the Sovereign Order of the Solar Temple. The Sovereign Order of the Solar Temple dates back to the so-called Origine Renaissance. This happened on June the 12th, 1952, when French esoteric author Jacques Breuer and two companions had a mystical experience. They claimed they were contacted by secret masters of the temple and asked to establish a new Templar Renaissance. This new Templar Renaissance eventually materialized as a new French secret society, and this was named the Sovereign Order of the Solar Temple. It was established on June the 24th, 1966, and incorporated under Monaco law in 1967. The French Principality of Monaco was selected by this secret society because the Grand Master, Jean-Louis Marsan, was a Monaco socialite and friend of Princess Grace of Monaco. According to various TV documentaries, there was more than one version of the Sovereign Order of the Solar Temple. Princess Grace of Monaco gave millions and millions of dollars to the Solar Temple. However, she soon became disillusioned with the teachings of this secret society. The Sovereign Order of the Solar Temple was eventually led by a man called de Membro. Monsieur de Membro convinced his recruits that he was in touch with 33 spiritual masters who watched over the whole world from a base in the Himalayas. He also told the followers of the Sovereign Order of the Solar Temple that they were reincarnated from biblical figures or saints. Princess Grace of Monaco was asked to donate $10 million to the Sovereign Order of the Solar Temple. She paid them $9 million, but soon had second thoughts about paying the rest. A schism broke out amongst the leadership of the Sovereign Order of the Solar Temple. Shortly after, Princess Grace of Monaco was involved in a mysterious car accident in France and died in hospital. After Princess Grace of Monaco's life support system was turned off, her body was laid out in the palace chapel, and mourners from all over the world visited to pay their respects. Sent on her first ever public engagement, representing the British royal family alone, a young British teenage girl stared into the face of the dead Princess Grace of Monaco. She was staring at a princess who had been killed by a car crash in mysterious circumstances. That young British teenage girl was Diana, who, 15 years later, would also be a princess who would die in a car crash in mysterious circumstances in France.